The whole audience awaits your take on recent events, and they don't get much more recent than the phone call between Presidents Trump and Putin this evening. How significant is that, and what happens next, do you think?
Well, first of all, it's an extraordinarily significant phone call, one that's taken some time to develop. I listened to your the caller coming in who is critical of President Trump's leadership, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Trump has the eloquence of a Thomas Jefferson or Abraham Lincoln. But if you don't think Trump is a leader, then you've never been exposed to leaders. There are good leaders, there are bad leaders, there are effective leaders, there are ineffective leaders. But Donald Trump is a leader. You may not like him, but he's leading right now. And he has had the patience to feel out the Russian situation. He made a phone call, 90 minutes. It was substantive. It takes two to tango. So understand that this phone call wasn't something that Donald Trump directed the Russians to participate in, but rather was a collaborative act between one of the most professional leaders in the world, that is Vladimir Putin, and Donald Trump. This phone call would not have happened if Vladimir Putin didn't say it's time for this phone call to happen. So everybody keep that in mind if you dare criticize this phone call. And for all the people out there who claim to promote peace, sit down and shut up about this phone call if you have nothing positive to say about it. This is a step in the right direction. We now have the highest possible level peace delegation from the United States meeting with the Russians, led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, including the director of the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Advisor. But you know who's not on it? Keith Kellogg. Oh dear, how did that happen? Because Trump had a chance to feel out reality, and he recognizes that Keith Kellogg's peace plan isn't a peace plan. The one that was supposed to be presented at Munich isn't being presented at Munich. And also, for everybody out there who thinks that Trump is going to be played by Vladimir Putin, you do understand that Trump has a lot more games being played than simply Ukraine. All Putin has to worry about is Ukraine and the United States. Trump has to deal with NATO. He sent his Secretary of Defense there. Brilliant performance. In one fell swoop, solved all sorts of problems that paved the way for this negotiation. Ukraine will never be a member of NATO. It's done. Finished. Isn't going to happen. If there are going to be troops in Ukraine as part of a peacekeeping settlement, they will be European troops, and they will have no Article 5 protection under NATO. Imagine how many European nations are going to be rushing to sign up for this one. Trump is solving all the problems. Europe is responsible for Ukraine's defense. There will be no more American military assistance to Ukraine. Boom. So I think Donald Trump has led very effectively. He took some time to play out NATO, to play out Europe, to play out Congress, to play out the military, to get his people in place, to let Keith Kellogg play out his fantasy. And now he has a negotiation coming in. And here's the other thing. They were always saying you can't have a negotiation until you have a ceasefire. There is no ceasefire, which means Russia controls every aspect of this negotiation. If the United States drags its feet, 15 Iskander missiles into downtown Kiev. If the United States drags its feet, frontal assault against Pokrovsk, capturing Pokrovsk, threatening Dnipropetrovsk. United States drag. You see the message I'm trying to say? Russia is in control of every aspect of this negotiation, and Donald Trump's okay with this because, and this is the genius of the Trump approach, Ukraine's not at the table. Ukraine will never be at the table until the time of surrender. What will happen now is as the United States and Russia negotiate, Russia will put the pain on Ukraine, and Ukraine will be begging the United States to bring it to an end. And when it does come to an end, and it will come to an end, it'll be on terms acceptable to Russia. And that's how you end this conflict. That's the only way you end this conflict, with terms acceptable to Russia.